I'm Sheema Sen Gupta. I'm a Malaysian and I work with Unicef in Afghanistan now. I've done about 19 years with Unicef in various capacities in various countries, and I've worked in 7 different countries. And I've worked in, development countries which are in, normal development scenarios and contexts. Sometimes there have been natural disasters, and then there are some conflict countries, particularly Somalia and Afghanistan. I'm a clinical psychologist by background. And in Unicef, a lot of the work I did centered around child protection. But since 2016 in Bangladesh and now in Afghanistan, I am Unicef's deputy representative, which is the head of programs. Out of the 7 countries, the 3 that really moved or made me realize what you say, is how difficult it is were Sri Lanka, because when I was in Sri Lanka, it was during the civil war, Somalia, and now Afghanistan. To see children having to live during a war, having to grow up during a war, I think that is the most difficult thing ever for me. And I think that's because being Malaysian and the background that we have, we've never, and I really don't want to jinx it, so touch wood, we've never really had conflict and war in our country, right? But then to go out there and see kids living in tents and guns going off and bombs being dropped and landmines, I think those are the worst imaginable scenario for children to be in. Looking back at my childhood here in Malaysia, children today are definitely less safe than we were, I think, honestly. Because I remember we could come back from school, do our homework, and run out and go out to play, and our parents wouldn't be worried until it was time to come home, and then they would start calling you from the padang, right, to come back. But that's not the case anywhere. I mean, forget about Afghanistan, Somalia, or whatever. But even Malaysia these days is not as safe as it was before. So I think there are a couple of things. In a conflict country, it is the issue of war and bombs and guns and landmines, and child recruitment and rapes and violence. In other countries, it's violence against children. People are just more violent, it seems. So there are the issues of children being kidnapped, children being abducted for various reasons. Sometimes babies are being abducted for no reason other than to provide a baby to a child, to a couple who can't have children. So there's the trafficking, which also makes it very, very unsafe for children, right? Because children are trafficked every day, everywhere, for various reasons. So I think overall it is just much less safe for children in today's world than it used to be before, which is a bit ironic because, we're so aware now. We should actually make it a safer place, but somehow we aren't able to. So if I compare the places that I've been in, of course, when I was in Ghana, I thought it was really very, very safe. And I was in Ghana, it's about 10 years ago, 2009 to 2011, and you could still be quite comfortable with your kids out there and not worry so much and so on. But other than that, I think it's very difficult to say. Obviously, the war-torn countries are not safe. But there are other countries that are not war-torn, and yet they're not safe because, like I said, for the various reasons of abduction and kidnapping and all of that. But then for Malaysia, I would say, yeah, it is still relatively safer than many countries that I have been in. However, I don't think it's safer today than it was when I was growing up. I think Malaysia today is less safe than it was when I was growing up, And I think it's to do with a lot. It's just that, also, it's a global world, right? There's so much movement across borders that, kids do get kidnapped and carried across borders before we know it, So there's also that movement which makes it much easier to take children away or to violate children. The violence, don't forget online violence against children, online bullying. I mean, when we were in school, we had to worry about being bullied in school, and the teacher would look at it, or you come and tell your parents. Online bullying is a reality today. And so in countries like Malaysia and all, where you think you're relatively safe because it looks all great, there's so much happening to kids online, right? Online recruitments of children that's happening, that makes it unsafe. So I think it's all different kinds of safety that we're talking about. I think it's very, very important first to create that awareness, to be open and transparent with our children, to be able to tell them, to warn them about what that is. When I was in Bangladesh, we also worked with Grameenphone, which is Telenor in Bangladesh. Unicef and Telenor had a partnership, and we were looking at how we could make it safer for children online. And it was really about working at it from various angles. So we worked at it in schools, trying to create that awareness, not telling them that it is bad, because honestly, the internet is not bad. Because the internet, think about it, right? You can get so much information, so many resources, which is useful. So not telling them that it is bad, but actually making them aware that these are the dangers and these are the warning signs, and you need to come out and talk to your teachers, talk to your parents. Then we were also working with, and we do work with parents to create that awareness, because then there is one extreme of parents who say no internet at all, or limited time, because we can't stop something that everyone else is doing and actually has some benefits. So we just need to work with families and teachers to make sure that children can be responsible users of the internet. So making them aware, getting them to understand, and telling them it's okay, come and tell me, being open to listen to them, that is so important.